Actually, much has been discussed in last 1.5 days on non-process elements, mainly of calcium and chloride. But the first thing which I would like to add here in next 20-25 minutes, I will take you a journey how these non-process elements can be measured, how these non-process elements impact the various areas, mainly the chemical recovery, how you can calculate the dead loads which you are making it travel through the chemical recovery system, and how this dead load and NP impact your economy. This I would like to discuss with you rather than telling that, speaking that on this topic. Now, first, what is non-process elements? Non-process elements are those elements which are not part of the pulping or recovery. So they are dead load, they are not required at all. But if they come as they come and go out like that only, no effect. But they are creating operational issues with chemical recovery. They are impacting our thermal and chemical recovery efficiency both. The closed cycle operation further in last 10-15 years due to improved technology level, the closed cycle operation has taken place in recovery also. So there is no by default purging point as it was earlier. So the silica, chloride, potassium, which are major culprits in recovery boiler, they are recycled and those are building up with cycle to cycle in chemical recovery cycle. The major elements which has impact on recovery are silica, potassium, chloride, iron oxide, magnesium oxide, alumina and calcium. What are the sources? As we all know that major raw material is the source for these NPs. The raw material being used in media, bagasse, wheat straw, utilities. Where they stand as far as NP content is concerned. We see the S, we see the yellow line at the yellow column at the highest in all the cases. Rice straw. This is the main reason why any virgin paper mill is not using rice straw. It has highest S content, it has highest silica content, it has highest potassium content, it has highest chloride content. Next comes wheat straw. Wheat straw contains second highest S, silica 4 to 5%, potassium very close to rice straw, and chloride. Same is the case with bagasse, it comes at third. As I discussed that silica has its own impact on evaporative, but as recovery bar is concerned, potassium and chloride are two major culprits, are two major non-process elements. So unless you know in which form they are present, you cannot come to any strategy to deal with that. So we tested it and found out that these NPs in form of chloride and potassium, they are present in all three states, solid, liquid and gases. In case of solid and liquids, it is present as potassium sulfide, potassium carbonate, potassium sulfate, KOH, potassium hydrogen sulfate and potassium chloride. In case of gases, KOH and KCl. We come in the later stage why this KOH and KCl come in gases stage. And this chloride compounds in solid and liquid phases is present as NaCl, as KCl. And this NaCl, KCl, HCl, they are also present in gaseous stage. Because at the bottom, the hot temperature is 1000 or 1100 degrees centigrade. This KCl, this NaCl, they get sublimated, turn out to be in gaseous form and go at the top, the upper end of the wire. Now, I was discussing in the morning, basically the value of chloride. what benchmark a mill has to give to its system, that this is the chloride my recovery boiler can handle. This is the potassium my recovery boiler can handle. If you say that ESPS, I test the ESPS. ESPS contains 10% NaCl. In a mill, suppose you can talk about Setia paper mill, it contains 12% NaCl. In star, it contains suppose 8%. I say that star is better than Setia. But if you do the mass balancing, if you see the impact of chloride, the chemical recovery had in star are facing more problem as compared to Setia. The reason behind it is what is the NaCl content in the flue gas passing through the upper region of the boiler. So just to claim that at a level playing field, because absolute value of NaCl is more in star as compared to Setia, because Setia is having soda pulping process. In soda, very little N2SO4 is going with the flue gas. The ESPS which is generated in Setia is much less as compared to any craft mill. So just by simply testing chloride and potassium, you can't come to any conclusion that this is my benchmark for optimizing the best condition for my recovery boiler. So terms has been developed to bring all mills at a level, if they termed it enrichment factor. In ESPS, don't measure the NaCl, measure the enrichment factor of potassium, measure the enrichment factor of chloride, so that you can fix a limit. If my enrichment factor is this, I can control it, I can have maximum benefits of my recovery boiler as far as thermal and chemical recovery is concerned. And this is very simple. The potassium content with respect to sodium and potassium. If a mill is having pulping at 20% NaOH, their black liquor contains 19 or 18% sodium. And a mill is pulping with 12%, 30% soda or active alkali. Their black liquor is hardly contain 14, 15% sodium. If the potassium level present in both the mill is same, then the mill which has less sodium will have more detrimental effect of potassium as compared to mill having more sodium. So that enrichment factor will play a role here. You can fix your limits at a potassium with respect to sodium plus potassium in the black liquor. Will give you a figure how to put a benchmark on your potassium content in ESPS. Same in the chloride, enrichment factor chloride with respect to sodium and potassium. Take black liquor, some black liquor is containing say 20% sodium and chloride contains 3%, another contains 15% sodium, chloride 3%. The person which has the black liquor which has less sodium will have more detrimental effect of chloride as compared to craft. Now, what are the sources of those non-porous elements? It has been discussed in length in the last session also. The major culprit is raw material. In case of wood, you can say about 60 to 70% coming from raw material. In case agro, about 80 to 85% coming from raw material. And process water and chemicals are other inputs of the NPs. Now, what is the impact? This has been discussed, I think Ravi yesterday, that T0, T50, T70, T100. This is the same thing, not to repeat it here. Now, just to have a simple walk through what are the basic impacts, what are the impacts of these NPs on chemical recovery. First is silica. As we all know, the major problem it creates is scaling in evaporator. Filter, wire, screens, furnace, you name it, it has the same problem. Higher smelt melting temperature. If soda silicate is present, higher smelt melting temperature. More prone of freezing near a spout, you can, it is a common practice where the in agro based this jamming of the spouts is more. When calcium silicate is formed in causticization, the calcium silicate has very poor settling rate as compared to calcium carbonate. So your throughput of plain fire decreased and your suspended fluid, your calcium compound in the white liquor increases. And naturally with silicate present it will consume lines also. And when they say calcium silicate is present, it forms a layer on calcium carbonate, on lime salts. You end up with low lime purity. Then you increase the temperature. So where there is a sheath, you get good lime quality. But where there is no sheath, you get overburning of lime. Overburning of limes, CaO is there. You get the available CaO, but it is overburnt. It has no activity. So you get non-reactive lime. This is the problem due to silica. And operation problem you all know in lime kiln. Chloride, we all know that it increases scaling and corrosion. Adverse effect as fouling practice, as yesterday explained by Ravi. It lowers the sticky temperature. Lowering of sticky temperature means when the flue gas reaches upper region, when temperature comes down, at superheater, at boiler bank, at economizer, when temperature of flue gas in a serial comes down, they start depositing on there. When they reduce the atmospheric temperature, at that temperature, it creates sticky nature of this. It creates sticky nature of these solid compounds and it creates deposits on this upper region, that to lower down the thermal efficiency. Then the calcium, we all know, it scales your better tubes for liquor quality. Iron has its own impact on corrosion, scaling, presence of iron, economizer tubes, accidents, so many things you all know basically. Aluminum, you know that aluminum silicate, you cannot cope up with this, at least this scale, only you have to stop and clear it, no descaling agent work on aluminum silicate. For phosphorus, you all know it has effects on lime quality, it reduces the lime quality, and potassium, it goes hand by hand with the chloride. So just for as because there are number of NPs, I will stick by discussion on silica, chloride, and potassium to do justice with the content. This is again the same. Now just to start, just to tell, what is the impact of chloride? Just to quantify the things. We all know that it has adverse impact, but how much? The quantification source, if we have there is no chloride is there, there is no enrichment factor of chloride. Suppose you can say you have an ideal ASPS, no chloride. You say that that's melting temperature is 850 as melting temperature. But the moment it goes to 2, you find it has come to 750. 100 degrees melting temperature has come down. So it shows here that the flue gas at 750 degrees centigrade, when it was going through without any sticky, without any deposits, at an ideal level, will start depositing at this lower temperature. So this is, you can see the huge impact. And when it goes to 4, when it goes to 6, and normally most of the mills are having 10, 12, 14, and enrichment factor we are tested in so many mills. You see it has come down to 560 degrees. So at this low temperature, when it was passing through 600 degrees centigrade, through the boiler bank, through the superheater, there was no deposit. But when chloride is present, it becomes sticky at this lower temperature. So this is the basic chemistry behind it, how this chloride and potassium act as a detrimental component in chemical recovery. Now, one more thing I would like to discuss here. People talk that chloride and potassium both have detrimental effect. But as we have done some study, I am of the opinion, if you control chloride, then potassium is a sister of sodium only. It will act as cooking chemical. But potassium becomes detrimental in presence of chloride. How we can see it here? If you see, if the chloride is present and there is no potassium, in the first graph, you see there is very less decrease in the ash melting temperature. But the moment you increase potassium, see the impact. The ash melting temperature goes on decreasing further. So if you are able to control chloride, then potassium will be your asset, will not be detrimental element for you. So you have to concentrate first on chloride, then potassium will be taken. Now how is this effect on thermal properties? Thermal properties that deals with the deposit formation, as I told you, T0, T70, T15. I am not repeating the definition. I have already discussed in earlier lectures. Both provide a potassium lower deposit temperature, but their impact on deposit thermal properties totally different, as I told in the last slide. Potassium lost first melting point, but first melting point has, it will not go beyond further. Because as you know that any compound, if it is pure, it has a definite melting point. But ESPS is not a pure compound, it is a mixture of number of chemicals. So there are chemicals which melt at a certain temperature, there are chemicals which melt at a certainly higher temperature, there are chemicals which melt at a certain lower temperature. So for this mixture, we have different properties as well. First melting temperature at which the lowest chemical, the chemical which start melting at the lowest temperature, that is the ash melting temperature. Potassium has the impact on that. And you all know, unless we reach T15, T15 means 15% of the powder, unless it becomes liquid, it will not deposit. So just for ash melting temperature, it will not become T15, it will not deposit on the boiler bank or superheater. But as chloride comes in picture, it starts decreasing the radical deformation temperature, the sticky temperature. It will start bringing down all these temperature, and this T15 temperature, which was earlier you can say 500 or 550, whatever it is, it will bring the RDT, radical deformation temperature, to that level. So sticky formation will start. It will start creating problems, creating jammings in your tubes at the upper region of boiler. We did some study to quantify the impact of chloride at laboratory in CPTRI. We collect the bagasse and we black liquor from mills and find out the potassium and chloride level in them, and then test them for ash melting temperature and smelting temperature. I would like to add here that this ash melting temperature and smelting temperature, you don't take it as temperature, you just think that this is the deposit formation. If you collect these two. So when we have this ash found black liquor, we have that bagasse has 0.4% potassium and chloride has 0. And is chloride content 0.02%. Weight strength 2.6 and 1. And then ash melting temperature 805 and 738 and smelting 826, 788. So we, just to see the impact, we add additionally potassium and chloride in that black liquor and check what is the impact on these thermal behavior. You see, about 17% ash melting temperature has gone down. 17% is a substantial decrement in the ash melting temperature. A compound which was passing through the upper region at 700 degrees centigrade without any deposit will start depositing when the chloride content is 2%. So just see the effect. It's just to see that how these levels, how the benchmark you can fix for your particular compound, for your particular milk. You have to see your black liquor, your deposit, still deposit sample, and also the ESP. You have to check their thermal behavior in terms of T0, T15, T70, T100 to put a benchmark for the efficient or smooth operation of your boiler. It was discussed in the morning that different hardwoods has a silica, calcium, potassium and chloride, and you can see that poplar and eucalyptus are the major subjects. The milk which are using poplar, this waste from this poplar fly industry, you can find that they are ending with more problem as compared to others. This is the silicate content different black liquor, again dry straw, wheat straw on the higher side. Then comes bamboo and bagasse. And wood has very low silicate content. There may be a simple question anybody may ask that bamboo has 2.5% silica and wheat straw contains 4 or 5% silica. But when you compare the black liquor of bamboo and wheat straw, if I then note the difference, 2.5% almost in wheat straw, maximum 3%. Same in the bamboo, 2.2 or 2.5. But the raw material content of silica in bamboo is half. So how you can simply justify it? This is basically, as we all know, that silica has a tendency to come into soluble form in alkali only. Higher the alkalinity, higher the dissolution of silica. And we all know that bamboo we cook around 20 or 21%. Very high chemical active alkali is required. So at this very high alkalinity, a pH 13 plus, about 90% of silica present in the bamboo comes in black liquor. Bamboo pulp has very less silica as compared to other pulp if you are looking at the original raw material silica content. I have done this exercise, so you can see it here, the bamboo, for 1 ton of pulp, we have to take about 2.2 tons of bamboo with an yield of 45%. It contains about 50 kg of silica and hardly 5 to 10 kg goes with the pulp and 40 to 45 kg come with the black liquor. In rice straw, you see, if you take 2.2 tons of raw material, it contains about 250 kg of silica. And it's 50-50. 50 goes with the pulp, 50 goes with the rice straw. Because you are cooking rice straw with a very less active alkali. The alkalinity is low. The white liquor alkalinity which you are using at 12% or 11%, or somebody were using at the time 10%, alkalinity was too low. So dissolution of silica was just 50%. Same is the case with straw where you are cooking with 14%. About 60% of the silica, 55 to 60% goes with the black liquor and 40 to 55% goes with the pulp in case of wheat straw. Now how the build-up takes place? We have done some study at CPPRI. What we did actually, we prepare a virgin white liquor. Virgin white liquor means we take NaOH, we take Na2S, make a white liquor and cook. It means we can say there is no silica, there is no potassium, there is no chloride in white liquor. Whatever comes in the black liquor will come from raw material. So when we did it in the virgin white liquor, we generate the virgin straw black liquor which contains a silicate content of 3.5%, potassium 3.1%, chlorides 1.5%, sodium 17%. But when this black liquor comes, we burn it in the furnace, dissolve it in water, causticize it, and create the first cycle white liquor. This white liquor contains these compounds coming from the first cycle black liquor. You see it here. Even in the first cycle, silica has gone 3.5 to 38%. Potassium has gone 3.1 to 4.5%. Chloride has gone 1.5 to 1.8. If I compare it with the enrichment factor, and I take the original black liquor as base, as 1, you can see that chloride has gone about 1 to 1.16, potassium has gone 1 to 1.39. So you can imagine, even in one cycle, this is the buildup. And in milk, you can't count the cycles. So how fast this buildup takes place? So you have to deal it with, you have to stop that entry or do an end of the pipe statement. This is just to make you aware that simply you can't stop it. This is again the same thing, build-up process. Now how, if you do the mapping in recovery boiler, only this is for the recovery boiler ideally. For 2 mills we have done it for raw material to the end. But due to time constraint, I am just presenting here the recovery boiler. If you do the mapping of potassium and chloride, how it is going at different portions in the boiler. First, if you take the base, the black liquor, because black liquor is the base, I have one Anish factor of chloride in black liquor, and when I test the superheated deposits, where my first flue gas reaches, it has gone 3 times high. So it is going at upper region first, because we know the NaCl, KCl, they turn to the gaseous stage at high temperature. So they go with the flue gas, and it has gone 3 times high in superheated deposits. It goes 1.9 times in boiler bank deposits. It goes 3.4 times in decorator, and you can say the maximum it is collected at enrichment factor is around 9 in ESP, which we are again putting back in the black liquor. So this is how the buildup takes place. We all know that it is getting collected at ESP, but how much? Unless you know the enrichment factor, how you can correlate, how you can benchmark that how much ESP dust I have to purge. If I know that 10 times is my figure in ESPS, enrichment, mind it, not the NaCl percent, enrichment factor. If I know this is the enrichment factor in my ESPS, and if I purge 1/3 or 1/5, which I can correlate with the chloride coming out from my raw material, just to balance these two, to stop the buildup. So to benchmarking the purging, to benchmarking any methodology to remove chloride has to be fixed only. That's why we did at CPPRI, this recovery team has done this mapping, and we can tell now that this much of the ash you have to purge, or this much of the ash you have to treat for leaching, for concentration, for removal of chloride. Same is defined, you see the potassium, it is about 11 is the enrichment factor in case of ESP test. Now the silica, I'm sorry this title of the slide is wrong. Just to tell you the impact of silica. If silica is present in lime mud, we all know there are difficulties in the lime kiln. But can you quantify it? What is the impact? If there is no silica, you can say that 98% conversion can take place. You can get a very high purity lime. But once it goes to 0.5, 5% reduction in purity. You get a lime that has 93% purity. When it goes, you can say 1.3 to 0.94, which we got, you can say at 4% silica content, the lime purity has gone to 70%. 30% less pure lime you will get if your lime mud contains 4% silica. You all know that the silica has detrimental effect on lime purity. But how much? How you can quantify it? If you do something to remove silica, you say that this much money will be spent. But you see, if you get the same 30% or 25% high purity of the lime, how much you will save? These all aspects, the introspection is required, basically to benchmark where this will help you how much lime mud I have to purge to get a particular purity of lime so that my system can work smoothly. Oh. Now how you can, what are the here in the existing system? What best you can do to reduce the entry content, mainly the chloride, potassium, and silica? As you all know that leaching the from raw material is the first thing to stop it enter at the exhaust. We have done some exercise at CPPR and we brought wheat scrub from the mills, wheat scrub, and did some cooking and just wash it at mill. Sorry, at CPPR, right? We taken the without washing, and after washing with a scrub, cook it in the lab. And you can see that potassium has gone down 3 to 1.7. Colloid has gone down 1.5 to 0.6. Silica, hardly 10% reduction is there. This is obvious because you are washing with the water and silica has no solubility at 7 or 8 pH. It starts solubility after 10 only. So only the adherent silica goes down. And potassium and colloid, they are highly soluble at any temperature. Even at 10 degree, at 15 degree, they are highly soluble in water. So if you do an efficient raw metal washing, a 2-stage efficient raw metal washing, having a good quality at a high temperature, you can 70 degree of the temperature, you can reduce about 75 to 80% colloid, and you can say something around 40 to 45% potassium in raw material itself. And again, when we reduce the colloid, potassium, you can see the impact on thermal behavior, smelting temperature, radical deformation temperature. It means it shows it will deposition will be less at the upper end. In the morning there was discussion on bark. What is the impact of bark? I was discussing with Pradeep in the lunch time. We are discussing what is the impact of bark. The first thing which you take in mind, yeah, there are some operational problems. We can deal with. But getting away with bark is not possible. But this is not the case. If you look at here, if you have a eucalyptus with bark, it has potassium something around 4,000 ppm. But if you have a debarked eucalyptus, and that debark we have taken from the same mill, we have not done it efficiently, we have not done it at CPPRI. What was done in the mill itself? Both the samples were taken from the mill itself. I cannot say this is 100% debark or 80% debarking. Normally the debarkation done by mill, just to save the wood, it hardly 70% or 65% debarkation takes place. Even at that level, you can see that almost 1/3 or 30% potassium is there. In case of colloids, around 1/4 potassium, colloid is there. Eucalyptus, if you debark it even at 65%, and if you debark it 80% or 90%, the efficient debarker that has come to market recently. This study was done 4 or 5 years back, but if you go today in the mill, you can get the difference is wider. In efficient debarking, you can have this colloid and potassium level. In debark, it is much less. You can say same in the case of soba wool. Soba wool has the highest colloid content. Those mills which are using soba wool landing into problem in the upper end of fiber. But you can see it here. About 85% colloid coming from bark in case of soba wool. So please discuss with your management and go with efficient debarking if you want to at least reduce the issues of colloid. The second space in the craft way. Partly up to 6 to 7 or sometimes if you have a high sulfidity, up to 10% colloid can be purged in flue gas. Because at that temperature the sodium colloid they react with SO3 present in the flue gas. It gives you sodium sulfate and HCl. And this HCl is in gaseous state. It goes away with the ESP. So at least 7 to 8, and in some mills which are having 25 or 27% turbidity, up to 10% colloid, you can purge at this. And partly purging of ESPS, and almost all mills doing it, but doing it blindly. Simply just taking someday 1/3, someday 100%. Just my suggestion is that go to the enrichment factor, go to the analysis, go the colloid mapping, go the potassium mapping, and get it tested in form of enrichment factor, and then benchmark your particular bill because your raw materials are different, your pulping is different, your recovery is different. So get this tested and fix your benchmark based on enrichment factor. And enrichment factor means the chloride coming daily. Suppose 1 ton is coming from your raw material, so 1 ton you have to purge to get away with the metal. So that much, because it has 10 to 11 times, so you have to purge 25, 30, 35%. It depends on the raw material which you are using. So fix your benchmark, how much purging is required if you are handling this issue with purging. Second, the crystal technique, Velmet is giving and Dixit is giving. And I am happy to say here that at CPPRI, we have developed a process, the leaching of chloride from ESPS. And those who are from recovery present in this house, I think Anupam is here. You are here, Anupam? You can meet Anupam or meet me. We have a pilot plant. We have gone up to a pilot level and completed this study at pilot level, and we able to get away about 82 to 83% chloride. This simply just dissolve this ESPS at 45 degree, decrease the temperature at 15 degree. As you all know that solubility of sulfate decreases at lower temperature, but solubility of chloride don't change with temperature. So when we reduce the temperature to 15, chloride remain in the soluble form and sulfate come as a crystal. So this is the efficiency which I told you with our plant which we have developed at CPTRI. Now just 3-4 slides about the dead load. At the pulping chemical recycle, but all the recovered chemicals that we recovered in chemical recovery are not active. We are recovering certain inactive chemicals. We are putting our energy, we are putting our efforts to recover the inactive chemicals also. But they are inevitable. You cannot get rid of that. But with mapping, with efficient process, you can reduce that. How? Simply we discuss. And you can say that around 20% chemicals which are recovered in chemical system, they are not required. Like sodium carbonate, like sodium sulfate, like NaCl, like KCl, like K2SO4. You are recovering it, you are building up. You are also recovering in chemical recovery, but they are of no use. So how you can reduce it? The major dead loads are sodium carbonate, sodium sulfate, sodium thiosulfate, and sodium chloride. There are main 4 major dead loads which is present in recovery cycle. There are many more, but their percentage is very less, so I have skipped this. The first, sodium carbonate. As you know, sodium carbonate comes from incomplete conversion of carbonate to hydroxide during crystallization. There is a limitation. There is a reaction limitation. There is an equilibrium for CaO, Na2CO2 NaOH. But you have to fix a benchmark for your particular mill. It depends on the sulfidity, it depends on the active alkali, it depends on the white liquor concentration. So you can go any causticity which is suitable to you depending on the lime quality you are using, 82 to 85. If your causticity is less, you are putting more dead load. And how you can calculate this simple formula to calculate how much dead load, how much carbonate is in your system. You can simply calculate it. You have the 106, this is the molecular weight of carbonate, and 62 molecular weight of your active alkali. C your caustic efficiency, and S is your sulfidity, and Y is your pulp yield. And EA is your effective alkali you are using in pulping, 15%, 20%, whatever it is. You can calculate it, how much carbonate you are recirculating in your system. Nearly 70 to 75 kg of soda carbonate is present at 84% causticity, where we are cooking wood at 16 to 17% cooking temperature. C, 70 to 75 kgs, 0.7, you can say 7%. The pulp you are yielding 7% waste you are generating at carbonate. And a calculation which are made by us, you can see in Indian context, if your plasticizing efficiency decreased by 1%, you are having caustic efficiency 82%, it comes down to 81%, 5 to 6 kg per ton of sodium carbonate is increased in the dead load. See the impact, the huge impact. So you have to fix a benchmark of causticity also, so that your dead load is in control. Sodium sulfate, we all know from where this comes. This comes from incomplete reduction in recovery boilers. There are so many reasons for less reduction efficiency. Your GCV, your carbon content, your inefficient washing of agro residue, all play a role, because for sodium sulfate conversion to Na2S, it all depends on the earth condition. And first of the most important term is the temperature. So fixing a char bed height, fixing a temperature at the earth has to be made to have the maximum possible reduction. Mills are achieving 94%, mills are achieving 95%, but there are certain mills and larger mills having 80%, 82%. You know it, that you are adding to that load. And remind it, if you calculate it, I have done this calculation. If 1% decrease in reduction efficiency, if from 90 it come to 89, 2 to 2.5 kg of that load you are putting into your system, which you are carrying, you are pumping it, putting energy to it, and this dead load in recovery boiler you are feeding at 100 degrees centigrade, 120 degrees centigrade, taking it out at 800 degrees centigrade. That's much of heat it is taking away. If that load is not there, that heat you can use in generation of steam. So these things have to be taken into consideration, that yes, my reduction efficiency is important, even 1%. This how you can calculate the dead load due to sulfate. The simple formula, there you are using the caustic efficiency, here you have to use the reduction efficiency. Rest formula is the same. This is basically hidden dead load. We can say certain hidden dead loads. The sodium sulfate, thiiosulfate, nobody is measuring. Not in India. I've seen in foreign also, nobody is measuring this. But as it gets generated, as long as green liquor, as long as white liquor comes into air contact, जब भी white liquor expose होगा, जब भी green liquor expose होगा, sulfide will convert to thiiosulfate, sulfide will convert to sulfate. You can't stop. About 5 to 6, and in 1 mill I have measured in India, it has gone up to 10 kg per ton of pulp. So this is again a substantial amount of thiiosulfate we are circulating in the system as a dead load. Sodium chloride, much has been discussed since yesterday. I think the top of the recovery presentation so far. And we all know that we have done this study that 8 to 14% dead load in the circulation in total craft black liquor, and it ranges from 80 to 160 kg. किसी मिल में 80 kg भी है, they are the best mill. I'm not going to name them. And there are certain mills in the country which are handling, which are dealing, which are putting their resources in waste, like using this 160 kgs, recirculating them, energy, temperature, heat, power. They are wasting on this resources. Now, just to conclude this part, build-up colloidal potassium chemical recovery cycle is a matter of great concern, as we all know, and we discussed in last 30 minutes or so how we can quantify this impact. They are enriched, as we have shown the enrichment factor in ESP dust, so that is the best point to look into either by purging or by crystallization to get rid of it. Colloidal potassium, they are showing influence the dusting behavior, and if they present mainly the colloid in the black liquor, it will have an impact on the deposits in your upper region. It will improve your soot blowing, and it will decrease your thermal efficiency. This already I discussed. Let us come to here with dead load. What is dead load impact? Dead load. If you are having a dead load, which are inactive chemicals, you have to put higher process energy because you have to pump them. Those dead loads are not the solid form, they are liquid form. So you have to pump them. And when they go to chemical recovery, because they are in soluble form, that water you have to evaporate. You are putting the evaporator, that dead load also at the same concentration of the black liquor. So you are putting your energy in evaporator to evaporate that water. Higher chemical loss, as you are circulating this inorganic dead load. Reduce throughput. Suppose your capacity of the evaporator handling or the recovery boiler. The recovery boiler has 400 tons dry solids per day you can fire. But in that you have 25% dead load. So hardly 300 tons of active chemical or required chemical you are firing. 100, you can say your efficiency come down to 75%. So I was discussing the lunch, I was discussing this bark portion, which can come up to 8 to 10% in some mills, which are using gasoline and all. That much level of evaporator efficiency, that much level of recovery boiler efficiency, you have decreased. 8%, 10%, and when most of the mill chemical recovery is bottleneck. And you reduce your 8%, 10% capacity of a recovery boiler just by feeding the bark. People know it, but why they are afraid of getting this in 100% or 90% demarcation? I am worried. In scaling evaporator and deposition upper boiler, as I already discussed. Thank you for question. Thank you.